first, we start with our takeaways from Week 10 of the NFL season.
The week that was.
You're ready to call it here? We've got our MVP.
Yeah, I am. It's Jonathan Taylor. It's not close. I said in my fantasy group chat a few weeks ago, it was probably more like 5 weeks ago. Someone was like, is JT MVP? And I said, not a chance. Like, just the way that this league goes, gotta say, I didn't anticipate he would do this for the next 4 or 5 weeks. And he has. I just don't think the argument is there for really anyone else. He has 5 games with 3 touchdowns this year. He scored more points than anyone in the NFL. The next 12 or 15 are all kickers. Daniel Jones has been good, not great. So JT is the clear MVP of this team. And the players above Jonathan Taylor, I'll just go through them real quick. Kind of depends where you're looking. He is 3rd on FanDuel. He's 4th on DraftKings. But yeah, Drake May at plus 300, Stafford at plus 300, and Mahomes at 500. I mean, first of all, Mahomes, we talked about his odds earlier in the season as too long at plus 1,400, which I still think would be the case. But to be the 3rd favorite for beating up on the Commanders and the Raiders on a little 3-game win streak as they fall further back in the division, I just think it's ridiculous. Obviously, they're projecting for the full season and how the voters are going to go. But we're talking about what we've seen so far. Drake May looks good, not doing anything mind-blowing, not a single game with 300 passing yards. His best game was 3 TDs, no picks, and 261 versus the Saints, getting great defensive contributions. They beat one division leader this season. That's the Bucs this past week. Matt Stafford, I'll mostly give you this one. He's been great. 25 touchdowns to 2 picks is absolutely elite, but he's not the most valuable player on this team. It's loaded on offense. The defense is among the best in the NFL. If they didn't have Devontae Adams, they would have been in major trouble without Puka. JT is the number one reason the Colts are the number 1 team in the NFL. He's got more touchdowns than Saquon's Offensive Player of the Year season last year, and it's week 11.
It's crazy. He's been absurd, ludicrously good. I don't even know what you do with it. I think it's very real, too. It's not going anywhere. There's no reason to expect a second-half downturn from him. I think Stafford's the threat here. With all due respect to Drake May, unless the Pats, win out, I think this is kind of like an end-of-career. Wow, is Matt Stafford really this underappreciated with how good he really is now? It'd almost be like a coronation for the guy after all he's been through in Detroit into, he won a Super Bowl in LA, but to still perform at this level after a Super Bowl a couple years later is kind of crazy. But I would give it to Taylor without question, right? To me, it's a no-brainer. I'm right in alignment with you. I think if we can dodge the Stafford bullet, you're onto something here.
Yep, that would be it for me. I'm going to bet it. I might try to see if I can juice up the odds a little bit. I wish I grabbed it a week or so ago and it was more than 10-1, but about plus 600, plus 500, plus 700. Where you look now?
I think in my head, I have Jonathan Taylor Thomas in my head, by the way.
Great. I bet you did, man.
Yeah. I'm like, why did I just say
man of the house?
Jonathan Taylor Thomas. My first takeaway from the week, and it's a confusing one. If a takeaway can just be confusion, I guess that's what this is. JETS, more like LUCK, luck. I'm so confused how this team beat the Browns. We liked the Browns last week. We were in on it. The Browns started off 7-0. I'm feeling great. And then all of a sudden the Jets do something that I don't think has ever been done in NFL history. Back-to-back special teams return touchdowns, a punt return, and a kick return to start the game. Look, respectfully to a great special teams performance, make sure coach gets the game ball. That's such a fluke. It's just such a fluke to have, let alone not just one touchdown, but back-to-back special teams touchdowns in a game with bad weather that you win by 7. Nothing the Jets did in this game against the Browns was inspiring to me after dumping their entire team. Justin Fields threw 6 completions for 54 yards. If anything, the only notable takeaway to me here at all is that Breece Hall is going to be doubled and tripled down upon down the stretch run of the season. He had 21 carries for 83 yards. He was the only receiver to break a catch of more than 5 yards in this game. Look, I'm not buying it, but it's at least interesting to me that the team that started 0-7 and sold at the deadline now has a horseshoe up there, you know what, and has one of the luckiest wins of the season. I'll be curious to see what happens. They go to New England in their next game. I would assume it's a beatdown, but they have my attention at minimum.
Yeah, this Thursday it'll be fun. If you told me that Jets Patriots would actually be kind of an interesting one to watch a few weeks ago, I wouldn't believe you, especially on Thursday Night Football. But I mean, division implications for the Patriots, something I'm about to talk about just a little bit. And it's something, not what I would have imagined, but that Justin Fields passing line is probably like the third or fourth time he's done that this year. So something's got to change.
It's crazy.
All right. My next one is staying in that AFC East. And it's the Bills are frauds. They're totally broken. And I think we're going to see the lack of big moves catch up to them, at least come playoffs. They needed to make a move for a wide receiver this year, and they did not. They signed Mecole Hardman after they just got beat by the Dolphins as like my God, we need to do something. And yeah, Mecole Hardman's got a great Super Bowl winning play, but like he's just Mecole Hardman. There's a reason he was available. Now you got Dalton Kincaid hurt, their second leading receiver, only 9 yards behind Khalil Shakir in one fewer game. They don't have a 500-yard receiver on this team. He's got the most TDs in the receiving game with 4. That's Dalton Kincaid. And now he's out probably at least a week or two. The offensive personnel is just not good enough to push the ball downfield. If opposing teams can scheme out the run game, they're basically useless. In their 3 losses, their leading rusher was 53, 84, and 53. Josh Allen, one of those 53-yard performances. And they just don't have the mojo they did last year. Allen's 1 pick away from last year's total. He's only got 5. It's not like he's tossing them left and right. He was leading the league a couple years ago, but he's taken 6 sacks more than he did last year already. A game and a half back of the Pats, just 2-2 in AFC East play and 0-1 to the Pats. So any tiebreaker that could possibly come into play at the end of the season isn't looking good for them. And it's just you're seeing it catch up to them. And I just don't think they have the long-term upside that they once did.
Yeah, I always hesitate to use that F word, that fraudulent word, with a team as good as the Bills or a quarterback as good as Josh Allen. But I agree. My eye test backs up everything you're saying here. They are vulnerable. They are gettable. They've had a series of uninspiring performances this year that finally caught up to them against the Dolphins franchise that just has never had the Bills number. I mean, that's one of the all-time lopsided matchups in recent NFL history, even when the Dolphins have been good. And for this to be a beatdown of epic proportions over the weekend, the wheels are off at this point for Buffalo. I have one more team to turn our attention to. It's Seattle. Now, I'm impressed. I'm truly just like blown away from what we've seen in the last 2 weeks from Seattle. And I'm wondering how much of it is schedule induced versus this team just really has turned a corner. But back-to-back weeks now, a 28-0 lead in the second quarter, on the road against Washington, and then at home against Arizona. These games followed eerily similar game scripts. I mean, it was just like Seahawks march down the field for 7, 3 and out, march down the field for 7, 3 and out, turnover, run it back, 3 and out. Like it was the same game twice in a row against 2 different opponents. They've now won 4 straight. They've won 7 of 8. You look at this schedule that they've played. I don't know that they've beaten a playoff team. That's the thing. Their best win is probably on the road at Jacksonville. Their losses both at home to the Niners and the Bucks by 4 and 3 points. I mean, there's a world that's not all that crazy here where Seattle's undefeated if those games have one big play that goes in the other direction. But it's about to heat up. They're on the road against the Rams next. They've got 2 against the Rams the rest of the season. Still have to go on the road to Atlanta. Still have to host the Colts. I think that I'm buying Seattle as for real. This is now back-to-back seasons that we've seen Sam Darnold kind of come out of nowhere and lead an offense to prolific numbers. I think they've got better players than anyone realizes. Smith-Njigba's been sensational, but you think back to that Commanders game, it seemed like they were spreading the ball around to a bunch of guys we hadn't even heard of. Walker and Charbonnet is one of the best duos in the league at the running back position. At minimum, I think this offense is here to stay, but they're tied with LA at the top of that division. San Francisco, a game and a half back right now. I'm curious what to do with Seattle as the season goes to the second half.
They're a bit of a Super Bowl pick for me. Dimer's model has them. This is before this week at 3.5%. I think you can get them at plus 1,400. That is not value, but it's a pretty good price on a team that looks this good. DeMarcus Lawrence with those 2 fumble returns, I was hurting a little bit watching that. This team reminds me of the late dynasty era Patriots. They're getting a
Mm.
lot done with running backs who are not fantastic, but very efficient, at least as far as scoring. Charbonnet is not a big yards per carry guy, but he gets in the end zone. They have an absolute dog of a receiver in JSN. That defense keeps them in every single game, and they're really well coached, and they're doing a lot with the quarterback position when he doesn't always have to do a whole ton and take over games. It's very reminiscent of the last couple Brady years for me when they were good. And the NFL simply isn't ready for the Daniel Jones, Sam Darnold Super Bowl.
Dude, can you imagine like how we would have to market that in the Mahomes, Allen, Lamar era, and it's Darnold Jones.
The memes will thrive.
It really will be. We can only be so lucky, Dave, truly. I like that shout. A little sprinkle on Seattle Super Bowl. I think you got me invested in that. They have my attention.